Hi, I'm Kenny Young, the city manager for the city of College Park. Spring brings pollinators, flowers, and the start of the city's annual budget season, a time when I submit my proposed budget to the mayor and council for review, feedback, and approval once it's finalized. I'll be going over some of the budget highlights of the FY2025 budget, but I would encourage you to read it at collegeparkmd.gov/budget. Please note that this isn't the final budget and changes can still be made. For the past 10 years, the city has been steadily adding new programs, services, amenities, and events that the community has requested. These include the new curbside food scrap collection program, renovated and improved community spaces and parks, increased communications for all our social mediums, including digital, cable, and print, business retention assistance programs for dislocated businesses, and rebates and programs to help make our community greener. We've also increased code enforcement and public safety and more events to help build a sense of community. To do all this requires funding and staff. For the proposed FY 2025 budget, the general fund has increased by about 10% for a total of about $27 million. Personnel is the largest aspect of our city budget, accounting for approximately 61% of expenses. Since FY 2019, the city has added 17 new full-time positions and 5 new part-time positions to add capacity and capability to our workforce to meet our residents' needs. In the proposed budget, we are proposing 3 new positions, including a code enforcement manager, a youth and family services receptionist, and a bilingual communications coordinator. These new positions will help make our city more inclusive, safer, and help residents access the services they need. After conducting a compensation and classification study late last year, the city found that for many of our employees, their salaries were not where they needed to be competitive in this area. $276,000 in funds has been designated to help those employees reach the 50th percentile. With the American Rescue funds sunsetting this year, many of the grants that came from ARPA that we have paid for using those funds will now come out of our general fund. Grants for food service organizations, public education, fire departments, and emergency assistance now back to the mayor and council's budget. Inflation has hit everyone, and we are not immune. Costs have increased for maintenance, services, and other products, which had to be accounted for in this year's budget as well. Since 2019, inflation has increased 16.5%, while our city expenses have increased by 30%, and property tax rate has decreased by 10%. Many of our departments have worked diligently to keep expenditures levels low and to reduce expenses if and wherever possible while maintaining a high level of service. To make sure we maintain the city's financial health and to continue to provide excellent services and programs for our community, we need to increase funding. For 10 years, the city has not increased residential property taxes. In fact, we've reduced them several times. Previously, to help fund city services, the city depended on development projects coming online to provide additional revenue. Unfortunately, the city's property tax revenue has been severely impacted by several very large property tax appeals, which reduced our city revenue at an estimated $600,000. With rising costs of inflation and increased services, we cannot depend on these development projects coming online, some of which experience major delays, which means further reductions in revenue until they open. A residential and commercial tax rate increase is necessary because the current path that we are on is not sustainable. While no one wants to see their taxes increased, it is my fiduciary responsibility to propose these property tax rate increases to meet the long-term needs of the city and to improve the city's overall financial health. Following the 2 budget work sessions with the City Council, I'm proposing a 4-cent increase for the residential property tax rate and a 6.1-cent increase for commercial, industrial, and apartment properties. This means that for the average value of a single-family home in College Park, property taxes will only increase about $156 annually, or $13 a month. And because the city has kept the homestead tax credit cap at 0%, for those who enjoy the homestead exemption, when your property tax value appreciates, your property tax bill does not. I've also proposed increasing the city's elderly property tax credit to $200, up by $50 to help offset the cost of this proposed tax rate increase and the effects it might have on our elderly population. Even with the tax rate increase, the city would still have one of the lowest residential and commercial apartment tax rates in the county and state, despite being the third largest Prince George's County municipality. I understand residents' concerns about a tax rate increase. However, any other measures to prevent a tax rate increase are short-term, they're risky, and would impact the city and its residents in the future. One suggestion has been to use budget reserves, including the current year's surplus, to balance the budget. If we do that, the city runs the risk of depleting our savings that we need in case of an emergency and negatively impacting our credit and financial situation. Like your own personal household budget, funds are needed to cover month-to-month expenses in case of a job loss or another type of emergency. The city is no different, and by law, we must have enough funds to cover expenses for several months. And unlike the federal government, Maryland municipalities cannot go into deficit and are required to have a balanced budget. Other potential short-term alternatives, including significant program cuts or reductions in staff and services, which no one wants to do. Once again, those drastic alternatives are short-term and would only delay a tax rate increase, not stop it. While this has been a difficult decision, it was one that was not taken lightly. I am very proud of the city's exemplary level of services that we provide, the programs and staff that improve the quality of life for our residents. And I thank the residents for their input, their feedback, and care for our community. You can read the full budget and see past budget work session and listening session presentations and more on our website at collegeparkmd.gov/budget. You can also view the upcoming budget calendar for key budget-related dates. I'd like to thank each and one of you for taking the time to watch this video, and we are One College Park.